Hello.
How the hell are you, Glenn?
I don't know. I've been in the bush for 3 days. So I have no idea
In the
what's
bush?
even happening in the world.
Oh.
All I know is Bell Canada cut off our satellite TV.
So you can't go on the internet and stuff?
There's my computer is not able to do that.
Oh, wow.
And somebody who was here over the last few weeks screwed up the computer that I was sent from California to the point where you can't even put in a disk. It tells you that it's full. So I have no communications except my 20-year-old computer and the radio and the telephone.
Damn. Oh, man.
I was in the bush last week and spent the night watching over a few houses that seemed to be suspect when it came to coming on our property and doing things. And while I was there, the entire earth beneath me rumbled for 5 to 10 minutes or so. So the security people suggested that we go out for a week every night, spend the night in different parts of the farm. There are 8 corners on this farm. And see if we could figure out whether it was a natural thing linked to earthquakes or a natural thing linked to some locomotive system that might be moving underground. So we spent the first night in the bush, and I didn't feel anything, but they had instruments. Second night, it rained all night, and I was soaking wet, and still I didn't feel anything. The third night, it was freezing all night, cold as hell. But I did feel some movement underground. They recorded things with their instruments. Tonight they said we didn't have to go back out because they've been able to triangulate and find out exactly where they think there is a moving structure underground, something like a conveyor belt or something to that effect, was probably responsible for the type of thing we felt. Now, there's a question that was brought up by a friend of mine in California, and he said it all depends on the kind of feeling you have. If it's an earthquake, you have a feeling of moving like you were on a ship sideways, and you feel that you might vomit, be seasick type of thing. But if it's a man-made thing, the movement is up and down. This was a movement up and down. However, she's only talking about earthquakes like the San Andreas Fault who move sideways, and hasn't considered the possibility that it is, in fact, a blind thrust, which is an earthquake that moves up and down rather than sideways. So I'm not certain yet what we felt underground. Security seems to believe that it's mechanical, but I suspect we might be in the early stages of rising.
That's what I was just thinking. Oh, man. Wow.
So, I mean, this area is right for it. The blind thrust is known for leaving a hill on the surface. I was born in this area in Ottawa, in a place called Sandy Hill, and the Parliament buildings are located on what we call Parliament Hill, and the Bible talks about a city on a hill. But there really is no real mountains here. They're all worn down. They're part of the oldest mountain chains in the world, the Laurentians and stuff. But there could be a mountain if there was a blind thrust rising to make up for the lowering of the U.S.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing for the last 3 days. This is my first chance to get back into the house and start reading on the background of what they think is going on, which is theater based upon the story of the people who have, in fact, assembled around CIPI, the Institute. The common denominator being the story of Akhenaten, going back to Egypt in about 1500 and some BC. So I'm now rereading a book by Velikovsky. Velikovsky, it means in the code EC, lick of sky. Lake of sky. So water rising up to the sky would correspond with the Great Lakes becoming the Great Sea again. Rising up so that we are already in our place here 300 some feet above sea level, but we could end up being 1,000 feet above sea level by the time the lake increases its boundaries and comes right to our front door.
How long do you think that takes?
I have no idea. No idea yet whether it can be done overnight or if it takes years to happen.
Because
I suspect, however, that it's not years. I suspect it's not overnight, but a process maybe that lasts a few months to a year.
Because I remember you saying that that allegory of the particle accelerator.
Yeah. Well, particle accelerator is basically a bag called a hadron being hit.
It's like a comet.
Yeah, and exploding its contents. Mm-hmm. The same thing can be said of Earth at one time, Earth in upheaval, when Earth was hit and it exploded its contents. Exactly what that was, I'm not totally certain. I know the moon was part of what was exploded, but there are some scientists who believe that Mars and Venus used to be part of the same piece as Earth and the moon, and it was the breakup of that created those four entities. Other scientists say that it was Mars and Venus that broke off, and Venus hit the Earth on the way by, making the moon break off from the Earth. So it's an open question, but it's certainly linked to the same principle as a hadron being hit and exploding its contents.
I remember you saying with the moon, if it was to get blown out the sky, doesn't the moon affect the climate too over here?
Yeah, well, the moon affects tides. It's basically a gravity thing.
So with no moon, what do you think that would happen? What do you think would?
Well, it's a question of whether there is nothing there or whether something else takes its place. And the coming sun, Alder Amin, is supposed to be seen from the Earth in the same line of sight as the moon is currently. The moon would basically be a flaw, if you will, as viewed from Earth in Alder Amin. I think there was a book called A Mote in God's Eye. Therefore, it would have to be removed. So that may be the underlying purpose behind the destruction of the moon. Whether it's done by laser focused on it that overheats it and blows up, made up of the northern lights, or whether private sector sending rockets to the moon. Unlike comets, they don't arrive and hit every few thousand years. They would be arising regularly, and that could end up making the Swiss cheese appearance of the moon more likely looking like a golf ball until finally it breaks apart. Then the pieces come tumbling down on Earth.
Yeah, with my situation, man, with this process with me, like, because I had to basically run around and go all these places, and actually I was gonna do something today, and I postponed it because, like, I don't like my car. I share it with my brother, and the car has like inspection from like last year, and I had to. Somebody called me up. Somebody I knew was in jail, and they wanted me to pick him up. And I went over to the jail and tried to pick him up, and he wasn't there, and I almost got my car impounded and I think arrested, but they let me go, and I postponed what I had to do today because of the place where I'm supposed to go it's full of sheriffs and stuff walking around. So I don't know. I really don't want to get a car impounded right now at this time. Then I won't be able to do anything. But
well, I was thinking yesterday that there was something happening that I would recognize on TV, and that's why Bell Canada cut off my programs and haven't put them back on yet, even though I've called them twice, and they called me once to find out if I was satisfied with the service. I said, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, they're just rubbing it in your face, probably.
You're asking the wrong question. Yes, the persons were polite. Yes, they tried what they could to be helpful. But no, nothing they said was going to happen has happened. You know, they said they were going to fix the problem.
Yeah. So,
but I'm pretty sure the problem is on purpose. You know, and it's orders coming down from way up high in Bell Canada.
Yeah.
And one of the persons talking to me yesterday had someone speaking in their ear. I could hear the answers they gave before they gave them, as the one behind them told them what to say.
So this person that you said it was at your house for a few weeks. Was it
from Scotland?
From Scotland? You think he
Yeah.
was responsible?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's the guy who spoke to you on the phone.
Yeah.
Spent 50 days, 49 days really on the farm, and a day either way going back home. On both trips, he had fears that the plane was going to go down. At the airport in Glasgow on his way here, he was delayed for 3 hours, they said, while they had to repair the plane. Then on his way back, he was delayed in Toronto, flying from Ottawa to Toronto before taking the plane for Glasgow. He was delayed for 3 hours, received a letter from his travel agency saying that the plane that was to be made available for his return journey was unavailable, and they would be having to bring in a replacement plane, a Boeing, which would cause a delay of 3 more hours to his already, I think, 2-hour stay in Toronto between flights. So he called me from there, and he said, he really didn't know if the plane was being replaced with a plane that would function going across the ocean, or was it being replaced because the one he had originally planned to get on was the one that would not function all the way. Then he called me from Glasgow to say, I've arrived, and the only way I lived through all of this was I got on the plane and sat in my seat and fell asleep. I didn't wake up till we landed. He said I couldn't have been awake on the plane more than a half hour. I think it's something like a 5 to 7 hour trip.
I don't see like how he could be. I guess I wasn't there. But like how he could be like responsible. Maybe because you saying like he personally did something to you? Or?
No, he apologized to me for allowing one of the older people he met here on the farm to take drugs in front of him. He didn't say anything at the time, but he said, I should have known better. I told the guy in the morning that he should know better, that if you take drugs here, then the headlines in the paper the next day are not going to say, Ian, an outsider arriving at the Institute, took drugs. What they're going to say is the Institute run by Glen Kealey is found to have people using drugs. Should have more respect for us here.
I mean, what would possess somebody to go up there and even? I mean,
that's the question. Did he do it out of just stupidity, or was it planned?
I'm saying, like, why would somebody just go up there and take drugs? Like, if they're going up to your farm, right? They would have to already know, like,
that we're not into that.
Yeah. Oh man.
So, but Ian still hasn't apologized to me, the guy who took the drugs. Matter of fact, the last time I told him when he was leaving, he said, Glenn, I don't live like you. Well, if you don't live like me and you want to take drugs, don't come here.
Yeah.
This is for people with functioning brains. But that's what happened, and Scotty came to me the next day and said, I was sitting there, he came and he sat beside me, and because he was older and he was part of the group that goes to the farm regularly, just didn't say anything, didn't think, but I should have. Sorry for it, and it won't happen again. So. But I had to leave during that period in time because if cops had come on a raid, that would have been worse had I been here. So all of that created a whole bunch of new experiences.
I'm thinking, Glenn, I'm thinking just driving up there. Seeing like just to drive up there. Maybe if I drove up there and rent a car or something and just drive up there, maybe I won't have problems. They won't give me problems because they seem to always really be anal about it. When you take the Greyhound bus or take take a plane.
I have no idea
how that works.
What problems you would have getting across the border, but you're always welcome here. So.
Yeah. You know how to what happens?
Sometimes you have to sleep on the floor. Or
That's in my life, Glenn. I've slept in I slept in outside in the parks, and I had those experiences already.
So have I, and I've slept outside in February for a week at a time in the middle of a snowbank. So it's not fun,
yeah, it's not.
But it needed to be done at the time for experience. This week was not fun, but needed to be done.
Well, I'm supposed to speak to Tom. I don't know when, because I work all the time. So
he ended up being what I would call the Tiger Woods of helpers. It's like he's a machine made to help.
Yeah.
And for 7 weeks, it was a pleasure to have somebody who's not only willing but able. He's not an old man. 27 years old. He's just under 6 feet tall. He has energy that's unbelievable. When we came to cutting and splitting wood and stuff like that, I thought for sure that after half the wood was done, he would be finished. Had a coffee and he went back out and he worked twice as fast on the second half as he did on the first half. So it was amazing to watch. It's not for everybody to be that way.
Yeah.
Some people help with their bodies, and some people help with their minds, and some people help with both. So.
Well, with me personally, I don't know what I would be. I could do labor, I can do stuff like that, use my mind, but I would have to be there to see what I would be helpful at.
It's always left up to the individual to say what it is that they want to do, whether it's in the house or on the grounds. And I try to put a rule in, which is often disobeyed. If it's physical labor, you should not do it more than an hour at a time. No sense in going about doing something and then being totally worn out so that you can't participate in any of the discussions afterwards because you're broken.
Yeah.
But the number of people who come here that when you try to stop them, it doesn't work.
Because that's the way we trained and brought up.
Yeah.
To work 8 hours.
I said, you're going to get me called a goddamn slave master. And I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
They say tough.
Yeah.
And they keep on working. So. There are 3 at least that I can put in that category. One is the guy that took drugs, which didn't make me feel too happy.
There's like, I know one person who, the people I usually see who take drugs, they're just, I don't know, I guess they can't deal with, I don't know, I feel like I look at it like it's kind of childish.
Yeah. I mean, life is much more exciting than being drunk or stoned. And if you stick to what's real, out there, there's all kinds of things that make one happy. That's basically what the guy from Scotland, Tommy, was telling me was, the one thing I can say is I've spent 49 days. There wasn't one day the same as the last, and there wasn't a minute that was boring.
Yeah.
There was always something happening.
Well, I wouldn't be bored. Just me, because the stuff that I find interesting, most people find boring, but I wouldn't be bored.
Yeah.
The only thing is, from what I heard, speaking to Dana, and hearing from Tom, it's like you gotta kind of be on your P's and Q's. You gotta be aware all the time of this thing that's happening over there.
Yeah, you cannot think that you can say or do anything without it being known.
Yeah.
We are being spied upon by our friends as well as our enemies. Yeah. And if you don't keep that in mind, you can get in trouble. Yeah. And I have no problem with that. I've been living with that all my life, so I don't have any secrets because I know it's senseless. Yeah. Well, secrets get you in trouble, and trying to do things secretly gets you into more trouble. So the only qualification I apply to what I keep secret is if it might end up in causing harm to other individuals. Information to myself, because they've been helpful along the way, and I have no intent of causing them harm. I know they live in a world run by the enemies of the good people.
Yeah.
No sense giving up people who are trying just by divulging, secrets about where they are at what particular time or what they're doing. Senseless.
The only thing I'm worried about is, say I go there and on my way out or on my way over there, I don't want to just lose my life.
You're never in that kind of danger from our friends.
Yeah.
the enemies are fairly simple to define. They're usually the people with the badges.
Mm-hmm.
Coprolite. Cops and the pros are a little lightheaded.
Those are the ones I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
The crew cuts.
Pros is any professional, people
Yeah.
whose life depends on earning money.
Yeah.
Usually for things that most people would call games. Cops are more interested in collecting money from fines than in doing the right thing. They're usually family-oriented. The father was a cop, the son was a cop,
Yeah.
grandson was a cop. So it all sounds a lot like engineering to me.
Yeah.
Social, if not generic.
Yeah, I do notice that too. It's like
And today I went into the police and I said to the woman on the counter that I had contacted the detachment sergeant a month ago, and my security suggests that by now I should have received either a telephone call or a written statement on the complaint I filed a month ago that the police had orchestrated a phony accident report to the benefit of insurance companies to which they may be paid bribes or kickbacks or whatever as the insurance company uses information to raise rates on people like us who are investigating criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he called while I was out on
what's wrong with my phone?
on this afternoon, and he said he'd call back tomorrow. But I want to file the complaint with the Public Complaints Commission and let them come back. I really don't care if they deny everything. It only implicates them.
Mm-hmm.
I let it run its course. If they do the right thing, that's nice. If they lie about it, well, that puts their name on the list.
Mm. Oh, Glenn. And I called you today, man. You really know how to just just turn around somebody's day.
Yeah. Well, it's fun here. It's fun here if your mind's in the right place.
Yeah.
It's it's scary for the scared. But I guess the lady from Massachusetts isn't scared because she sent me her and her son's last month's rent by mail today, saying deposit it because we'll be arriving. She told me on the telephone probably in January. So spend 2 years in Canada going to school at the college here, and at the same time those 2 years apply to landed immigrant status, which would apply if she were to request permanent residency in Canada. So that may be one way you should be thinking about.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was just talking to Dan about that. That's how I was gonna come to Canada originally, years ago. I was actually gonna move there, do like a school thing, but they wouldn't let me through the border. And I was signed in my schedule. I had my class schedule, everything. So I don't know. I'll probably take like a gym class or something.
But your time has probably expired on their reasons for keeping you out. So
Yeah.
if you do it again, it may be a different outcome.
Yeah. Because the lady claimed I had to do all these things, but I have a passport. I think I might be able to just go through there, like.
Yeah.
But
just don't mention my name.
Hell no. I don't even know you, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that would do, but nobody that comes here ever says I'm going to see him.
Oh no, I have like the best excuse. I actually have family in there, so
yeah.
I'm just going to see my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
As a matter of fact, when I filed a complaint at the police department, the following couple of days there was an AWACS surveillance plane flying over, taking soundings in infrared and ultraviolet and all that.
Damn, man. They're really these. Is the security team are they like recording all of this?
Yeah.
God, man, these
it's
people
all to be presented at the appropriate moment in what they call the Court of Appropriate Jurisdiction, an international court that has no links to any government.
Hmm. So, do you think, like, if I were to stay up there for a while, I probably would be harassed like you are back then?
You never know. It depends on what situation they consider you to create, I guess.
Yeah.
Dana wasn't harassed when he was here.
Yeah, he got lucky.
I don't think, apart from feeling that he was being watched or videotaped at times, either Dana or Tommy felt that there was anything out of the ordinary. There were people coming and going all the time. There will be less now that it's winter, because there isn't as much to do outside in the wintertime as there is in the summertime, and especially in the fall when you have to prepare the farm for the winter. You know. The only thing, Jared, that you need to know is that both Tom here and I are on old age pensions.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the kind of funds that I would like to have to say anybody can come anytime.
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting from one month to the other is often difficult.
Yeah, I can save money up when I get up there, but I guess I would have to use it sparingly.
There's a guy that called me 2 days ago from San Diego. He said, I've saved the money for the trip. I'm ready to come. Mm-hmm. I said, well, the money for the trip is fine, but what are you going to do when you get here?
Yeah,
we can't afford to pay for people to come here. You know? Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, I can sleep in a barn. I said, well, you're talking about Canada now.
I know how Canada is too. That's, I thought about it.
I said, do you know what 40 degrees below zero can be?
Yeah, it's cold.
Pick up your body in the morning.
Yeah.
Think about these things. I said, plan more for the spring and summer. Think about, renting an RV or something like that if you want to spend that amount of time. We can feed you eggs. We got chickens.
Yeah, I seen I was watching somebody posted a video on the internet. I seen a picture, like a recent picture of Alan Watt, and this guy has like hair like past his shoulders now.
Got hair like what?
He got hair past his shoulders now. It's really long.
He's been listening to what I've been saying.
Yeah. He knows. He knows because, you know, he had it tied back, and I'm like, wow, man. But, you know, I just can't understand how a guy could actually know the, you know, the truth, I guess you could say. And
he's Scottish. It all begins in Scotland.
yeah, but how can you go out and just get up there every day and actually, like, get into another reality in your mind and, like, it's really real, like the things that
I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Me neither. Just to get up there, like.
It all depends how they were engineered.
Yeah.
And I know that I wasn't very well engineered socially because I didn't spend any time at home that I could be away from home. It's the genetic part before I got there that bothers me. I have no doubt that the parents I was raised with were not my parents. They were step parents put in place, but I was manufactured someplace else.
And they actually like raised you your whole.
Well, they allowed me to live in their apartment. It was basically it. Although the father was never there because he was drunk most of the time, and the mother was living in a building that belonged to her mother. If she missed the rent every now and then, well, nobody would really jump up and down and throw her out.
How do you go through life with that knowledge and act like nothing ever happened? That you have a child that's not yours, really yours.
Well, she told me once, but I didn't believe her.
My mother said that to me too. She said that to me, and I think about that, like, I don't know. Man.
She said I was in the kitchen doing the laundry, and I heard crying in the bedroom, and I went, and there you were.
No, nothing like that for me. Like, you know, I sometimes my mom, but she says it like joking, like, oh, because we all look alike.
Yeah.
Me, all my brothers, and
that's different in my family. None of us look alike.
See, we all look alike, but I don't know. I'm starting to see that, like, I'm like maybe genetically or something.
I think I look like an old Jewish rabbi.
Yeah, with your hair. You look like some Nordic, like you could be a Viking or something. Yeah. You know what? That guy, he's a Maverick. I seen a picture of him on YouTube over there, and I don't know. He's like seemed to be just criticizing you, but yeah, he's growing his like hair long.
They all criticize, but they all follow the advice.
Why do people do that?
Yeah. I don't care as long as they do something to change the ways they've had in the past, you know.
Yeah.
To me, past is irrelevant. Present is what's important, working towards the future. And they could have been master masons of all kinds, priests, whatever, in the past. I don't care.
And you know, with the master mason, I was looking at a thing in the encyclopedia. They talk about the Holy of Holies, this place inside the temple. Yeah. And I was thinking, because they said they got this place because it used to be, they call it the Addy Tum. It was basically a grave, a coffin where they put dead bodies in. I'm thinking, this is the place where they get material?
Yeah, they kept the DNA, just put the mummy in the hole.
Yeah. And then they use that as a symbolic thing when you go to third degree in masonry the master degree, master mason. And I
when
think
you read the real story of how the temple was built, and how David built a foundation and Solomon finished the building, then you start to grasp the allegory of it all.
Yeah.
You take the things of value, and you take them into the back, and you put them down into the Holy of Holies, and then the trogs come and pick it up and take it off to Moho land.
Yeah.
It's the same allegory in golf. You know, you take the ball and you put it in the hole in the shortest possible delay. And if you do that well, you win a lot of tournaments. So the whole concept of getting the stuff, fetching it, bringing it back, and putting it in their control is done every day by a whole bunch of rich people who go out and get money and take it to the trust company and put it in a blind trust, and they believe that will accumulate over time and they'll be gazillionaires, whatever that means. But all it means to the controllers is anything we give you, bring it back, and when the time comes, we'll knock you off and take it.
Yeah. But yeah, with that thing with the temple, like with the third degree, I was saying, like, to me, it looks like when they're doing this ritual, they're basically saying, yeah, I'm a candidate for just take my DNA and use it.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Like, they don't even know.
Treat me like a dummy because I am.
Yeah.
You're the mummy and I'm the dummy.
Yeah. But yeah, Glenn, it's interesting, man. Because I wasn't reading the encyclopedia front to back, like, but I started a week ago just actually reading it front to back now, and I'm finding things like
it's all there.
Yeah. But there's like a whole bunch of other, because this encyclopedia is like, to me, I don't know, it's kind of scratching the surface in a sense, but because but it leads you to other things to research, like all these other people that I've never heard of, you know.
Well, that's what doing the dictionary encyclopedia thing does, is it takes you from one place to another, and that other place can be more important than the place you started off looking at.
Yeah.
I do that every day when I'm indoors and I can do something on the net. It's just hopscotching, basically across the words.
Yeah. Yeah, like one thing I learned, like, it's something that they do too, like, I think it was in the Holy of Holies. They call these two things, they call them the pot of manna and the rod of Aaron. And I know the rod of Aaron is symbolic because it's related to, like, the scepters and stuff that kings held in their hands. And I guess it's related to control they have, and, you know, they rule with an iron, I don't know, rod or
Man, is just a man backwards.
Really?
It's a man made up of three parts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's O-man, too.
Shaped like an A, which is a step ladder.
Yeah. That's interesting, too, because there's a word like O-man. Oh, that's a bad. It's an O-man.
Yeah.
And O-man is basically saying, I guess they're saying...
Original.
Oh, but I thought it was... Oh, yeah, it is original because...
You go around the circle.
Yeah.
Kiss your own ass on the way back.
Yeah. There's all these types of things. There's one book by a guy named Robin Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah.
Sons in Robe, or Men in Dresses, and you have the ruse. But this guy, I think, there's a book, it's called 1001 Nights. And I know you take 1001, it's 1001, that binary code.
Reverse the code.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's all these little things I'm finding. You know. But that's what I want to do. Like when I get up there, I just want to bring but from what Dana was telling me, like when you get up there, it's, like all the stuff we're talking about, it's totally
real.
different. Like no, like what would like when you get up when like if I would, because we talk about stuff like the code and stuff, but he said to me it's like a different mind frame. Now it's like really like solutions that you're trying to handle.
Yeah. It's osmosis.
Yeah.
It's the story of Oz and the story of Moses. And it all revolves around the theater called Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and all of the other characters in there. Tutankhamun. It's all that story being replayed as an unfinished symphony.
Yeah.
It's like there was a thing started and it got short-circuited along the way. And our role today is to put it back in place, finish the symphony, finish the story. That's the title suggested for the epic book that would come out of all of this, The Unfinished Symphony, and it's got a subtitle that I prefer. It's called Worms for Sale. Because the word worm starts with a W, like the big W, George W. Bush, and Cassiopeia in the sky, all that stuff. And then it's the word Roma. Roma.
Oh. With Moses, too, I guess that's what they're doing. They're guiding us. Because when Moses split the Red Sea, I guess he was splitting
he went
DNA.
back and got the stuff and brought it back.
And he's taken it
to Egypt, and he brought it back.
Yeah. And what he was doing, but what they mean too by taking us, that's what they're doing, and taking us to the promised land.
Yeah.
Because it's a promise that they want to.
But the promised land, there is no L. It's the promised DNA.
Oh.
So the Hebrew people were misled. Moses led them to Mount Sinai, held them for 40 years. All the people who knew the real story died out, and then Moses could tell them any story he wanted. And they took the kids to Jerusalem and that area of Palestine and disappeared. It says he went blind and disappeared. But in fact, blind just basically means be line. Be line. A line is nil on one side and a line on the other. That's 10. B10. The new code. That's all he was talking about. But he did it by fooling the Jewish people about what he was talking about was a physical place, when in fact what he was talking about was a new gender that would replace them. And that would only happen here. On a new continent, made like Sherlock Holmes's hat, that would rise. A couple of years ago, a woman from South Africa sent me a graphic, and it was of a whole city rising as one piece. All the buildings, everything, skyscrapers rising up. Well, that's what's going to happen. Ottawa, the mulatto city on a hill, where I was born on Sandy Hill, is part of the Canadian Shield and will rise as the U.S. goes down. It was planned before the U.S. was even imagined.
Mm.
It was done in Susa, in a country called Media, which is now known as Iran. It involved the people called the Kashki. The Kashki is the media. And they are also known as the Kurds.
Yeah.
Say cheese, turd. Also known as the Basques. Hey, Bass.
Mm-hmm.
Bass, skull and bones.
You know what? I came across a group of people that call them, I guess you could call them the D-Ruses, or I'm not sure what D's in the Desdemona. But they call them the Druses.
Druze.
Yeah. And they were like these people in Mount Lebanon.
Yeah. Well, the word ruse is phonetically there.
Yeah.
D stands for number 4.
And
you know what happens in golf when they yell 4, right? Watch your head.
Yeah. Because these these people like Roma, or
they were originally Roma, and of course they become different groups of people as they walk around the world in different directions, and they basically are the origins of the Celtic people.
Oh, the Druids.
Yeah.
Well, but that's
they just play on the words a little bit.
Oh, Druids and Druisses.
Yeah.
Oh. This is
IU. IUD, intrauterine device.
Whoa, what do you find?
Dr. IUD.
Oh. Wow.
Anyways, it's my bedtime because I haven't slept for 3 days. I got to catch up.
You sure you're not taking any drugs?
No, I'm not taking any.
Just kidding.
Although I did take aspirin for my arthritis when it gets bad. So I have no problem with drugs. If the drug is a pharmaceutical drug and you take it in reasonable quantities and you don't mix with other things, it will probably do what it's supposed to do. However, few people are prescribed one drug. They're usually given a cocktail, and they're told to take 8 times as many as they need.
That's like the thing right now. Like I'm having all these problems coming up. I got to get a root canal, and it sucks. I got to get this root canal, and they prescribed me. I didn't.
I wouldn't do it, Jared. I've had root canals done in my life. I just have the tooth taken out.
You sure, man?
Yeah.
Why?
Get rid of it.
Man, this is
get rid of the tooth, you get rid of the problem. The tooth is only a pension plan for a dentist. Best thing I ever did, threw my teeth out. Probably return to what troglodytes look like, except I put in false teeth, and I would rather have false teeth than any tooth I ever had originally that made me spend thousands and thousands of dollars on dentists, and the dentists are basically the ones that cause you the most problem in the medical profession.
Yeah.
They can put something in that tooth that will be released over time and kill you or turn you crazy.
Oh, wow.
Get rid of the tooth. That's my advice.
And it's cheaper, too, to get rid of the tooth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Put in a denture when you can afford it. But don't walk around with their stuff put inside a tooth.
Oh, man.
Root canal. 2 words you want to keep away from.
No, because he said, oh, man. See, I told you, you know how to just turn somebody's whole day around.
Okay, Jared.
All right, Glenn.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.